Hi neighbor, I'm Ned Moultrie.
And I'm Aiyana Willoughby.
In honor of Black History Month, we're celebrating diversity in all its forms, including the structure of today's episode.
We're leaving the studio behind as I check out a self-love event hosted by the Rho Theta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
New host Justin Lundy attends a talk by a former Black Panther, and he sits down with best buddies of Boone to learn how they're helping to build friendships for those with intellectual disabilities.
Join us as we say,
Hi neighbor.
Hi neighbor, I'm Aiyana Willoughby, and this week we're exploring diversity and inclusion on the campus of App State. So I'm here in Plymouth Student Union at the Multicultural Center for the Paint and Talk Self-Love event. Let's go inside and learn more about it. Hi neighbor, I'm Aiyana Willoughby, and I'm here with Kendavi Bashar, the president of the Black Student Association, and we're at the Self-Love Paint and Talk event. So how are you, Kendavi?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. So I just have a couple questions for you. So what's your role with this event today?
Well, actually, this event is hosted by the Rho Theta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, but this whole entire Black History Month, the Black Student Association has been working to make sure that all of the Black affiliated organizations here on campus have a place, a time, and just have all the resources necessary to put on successful events.
So what are you hoping to accomplish with events like this?
Well, with our programming throughout this entire month, we just want to give all the Black students here at Appalachian, you know, that good feeling, you know, that pride, and just feeling accepted and feeling like, you know, we're on Appalachian's campus, which is majority white, but we can still enjoy and celebrate our heritage and our culture and our history.
So how are you making spaces like this inclusive?
Well, the events for Black History Month are open to anyone to enjoy, learn, and come and be educated. So if you feel a calling to want to come to one of these events and just learn honestly, because, you know, that's a big misconception. Events put on by the Black Student Association are not solely only for Black students. A lot of times we have educational events where you can learn about different things that marginalized communities have gone through, and we definitely make sure that we talk about intersectionality and how that all relates.
I'm Aiyana Willoughby, and I'm here with Elise, the president of the Rho Theta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Hi Elise, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So can you tell us a little bit more about your role at this event?
Yes, I'm the facilitator of this event. I'm also here to help people, whether they need help or not, just to, you know, be here as a support system.
So what exactly is the Paint and Talk Self-Love event?
So this event is a self-care event where people can paint and, I guess, paint out their thoughts on the canvas. We are also having a discussion component where we ask questions about Black expression and all of that.
So how does this promote diversity on the campus of App State?
Yes, this discussion challenges people to have a self-reflection, especially because we have a lot of marginalized groups here. And yeah.
So how did this idea come about? Whose idea was it?
So this was actually a members event. Her name is Ashlyn Stevens Rucker, and she wanted to do this event as a self-care event and also to have a reflection of our Blackness and how Blackness is expressed through art.
So my last question for you is probably, what's your experience like being a minority on the campus of App State?
So it's definitely a difficult experience. I would say it hasn't been an easy road for me, but I do like to be here as a mentor for younger individuals who come to this campus because there's not a lot of Black people up here. So I'm glad that that I can be a mentor to a lot of people up here.
So what's your experience with being a minority on the campus of App State?
Well, being a part of a marginalized community on Appalachian's campus, it's been a lot of work, I would say. I'd like to say that I've taken a role in trying to make it more of an accepting space of people who aren't of the majority on campus, and just trying to, you know, be kind of like a mentor to people who are coming after me and just create a more inclusive environment. So it's been kind of taxing, but I've also been able to grow closer to all these amazing people back here and just creating that community.
So how can students get more involved with BSA and the events happening this month?
Well, you can follow us on our Instagram page at appstate_BSA. That is where we post all of our events and everything. You can stay updated on our website, and just come to our events, come support. We have open arms to allies and anyone. So like I said earlier, our events aren't exclusively only for Black students. We enjoy when people come and celebrate Black history and culture with us.
Well, thank you, Kendavi. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and I hope you have a fun time at this event.
Hi, neighbor. Socializing in a new setting can be difficult, especially for those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Luckily, there's an organization that helps form lasting friendships here on campus. Joining me today is Catherine Musser, president of the App State chapter of Best Buddies Friendship Program. Thanks for being on the show today, Catherine.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So can you tell me a bit about the Best Buddies program?
So Best Buddies is an international organization. They do it country by country and state by state. So in North Carolina, we have an office, and that is where they put out the different chapters in different high schools and colleges. But the purpose of the organization is to close the gap between people with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities by doing that by making one-on-one friendships and bonds that are hopefully going to last for life, as any friendship would want to.
Okay, and what made you want to get involved in this program?
Growing up, I have had a brother with Down syndrome. He's 19. His name's Max Musser, and he's just always been such a joy in my life. I love being around him. So that inspired me to volunteer at things like the Special Olympics and Young Life Capernaum. So when I got to college, one of our good family friends, Tammy Medlock, is the head of the North Carolina office, and she asked me if I would be willing to get involved with people who are starting up the club and get things going and get the word out. So that we did that my sophomore year, and ever since it's been a great time.
That's awesome. I actually have a brother with autism as well, and I was wondering what exactly can he do to get involved? He lives in Raleigh, so I'm not sure. Is there a chapter out there by chance?
So most a lot of high schools in North Carolina, or how old is he?
He's 26 right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he would be more in a college chapter. So college chapters reach out to the community, and they can bring people who aren't in the college into their club. So if he wanted to get involved in Best Buddies, the best way to go about figuring out where the closest chapter would be to him would probably be looking up the North Carolina's main office and just giving them a call, and they can tell you where your closest chapter is.
Okay. And how did the Best Buddies program first start? What's the history behind it?
So Anthony K. Shriver is the founder. His family has had a lot of influence on this kind of community. His family also started the Special Olympics, but he had an aunt who became disabled from a lobotomy that just went wrong. And so in the 1980s, he decided to start the Best Buddies Club at his college, and he called it Best Buddies, and he wanted it to be a one-on-one friendship organization where people at his college could just come together and no one would have to feel left out. So that's where it all started.
And what individuals in the Best Buddies program actually are covered? Do you know which ones are covered, I guess, in general?
Everybody.
Okay.
It's intellectual and developmental disabilities.
So it's not just autism?
Okay. So it's Down syndrome, autism, people in wheelchairs, everything. Everybody's included.
Okay, and are there any events happening soon, on App State's campus by chance for it?
We actually have our first club meeting of the semester this Wednesday. I think that is February 5th, maybe. And we do every other Wednesday of the month or the semester at 6:15 p.m. in the student union. So we do club meetings. We normally do an event with the theme of whatever holidays that month or stuff like that. So we'll probably do a Valentine's thing near the end of the month. Last semester we did a really fun pumpkin painting thing for Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you for educating us on the Best Buddies program. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Now, without further ado, please again help us welcome our guest this evening, the Reverend Dr. Bradford Lilly.
All power to the people. All power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Come on, say it with me one more time. Power to the people. Power to the people. And what I mean by that? I mean all the power ought to belong to all of the people. Can you dig it? Amen. I'm talking about brown power to brown people, yellow power to yellow people, white power to white people, and black power to black people, because the power ought to belong to us. Amen. And if you think it does, now you are mistaken. I'm Brad Lilly. I'm one of the original members of the Winston-Salem Black Panther Party. I know that I'm supposed to be talking about the 60s and 70s, so I don't have to tell you how old I am. But I've been around. I was there for Malcolm, for Martin, for Stokely. I was there for all of those that you have heard about that fought this struggle, and we're still fighting this struggle. So let me begin with the 60s, tell you how I got involved. Strangely enough, it was my mother. You see, in the 60s, in the latter part of the 60s, the mid-60s, latter part of the 60s, we were, black people were fighting for integration, to be recognized as full citizens in this country. And my mother was a part of that struggle, even in the Deep South. So in her little hometown of Hereford, North Carolina, which is in Bequemins County, East Coast, North Carolina. Anybody know anything? Nobody? Nobody from back home? All right. So what they were doing, they were trying to integrate a school. And the civil rights leaders, NAACP, came into the area and they talked to the people, and it was a thing about nonviolence. You know, you're familiar with Dr. King, and you know, his motto, his philosophy was nonviolence. And so this one particular time, they were planning a demonstration concerning the schools and integrating the schools. All the black people in the different black communities came together, and they, did my mic go out? I'm a preacher. I can talk loud. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. I think my mic came back. They gathered all together. They came to one country church. We were out in a little country church, and they were given instructions. Now, we're going out there, we're going to face some racist people. And they may throw stuff at you, or they may spit at you. They may hit you or call you names, but you've got to be nonviolent. And if anybody is not able to do that, you can't go with us. After they did all the instructions and things, they had to do one more thing. So they said, now, this is one thing we've got to ask you to do. I need everybody that bought their guns or any type of weapon to bring it up to the front of the church. And you know that little table they got in the front of the church? Said, put your guns, put your weapons right here. And I got to tell you, when they finished putting them guns and things on that table, I had never seen so many guns in my life. And they were getting ready to load up, and then they made one other stipulation. All the children gonna have to stay at the church. We're not gonna take y'all. Because we know that if somebody does something to one of y'all, your parents gonna go off. And so we were told to stay at the church. They loaded up and they went downtown to demonstrate. The Klan knew that they were coming. Everybody knew there was supposed to be a nonviolent demonstration. I'm gonna tell you what happened that night. The Klan didn't go to the demonstration. They came to the church. And they shot up the church. And I remember as a little boy, a young boy, lying down on the floor of the church under some pews, hoping that I wouldn't get shot. That was my introduction to the civil rights movement. My mother is the one that got me involved in it. In 1968, I was 16 years old, and I was on summer vacation. We went to Wildwood, New Jersey, beach resort, and I spent the summer there. We worked, my brother and I, some of the other guys from my community. We got on a bus and we traveled from North Carolina to New Jersey, and that's where we spent the summer. Well, I'd heard about the Black Panthers. I'd read a little bit about the Black Panthers, and I liked what I heard. My brother came up with this idea because he found out that the Panthers were in Atlantic City. So let's get on a bus and go to Atlantic City to the Black Panther office. And so that's what we did, and that's where we went, and we met the Panthers there. And my life changed when I met some real bad brothers and sisters. I mean, they were down. And they talked about the struggle and how we needed to be involved and how we had to take up arms and how we had to fight for our rights and for our freedom. And they gave us books, posters. We came back several times, and when the summer was over, I went back home to my segregated cell. One day, we were sitting in the living room watching TV, black and white. This man came on the screen. He said, "We're going to shoot our way into the White House. We're going to cut off the head of the president, and we're going to shoot our way back out." And I said, "Right on." And my daddy said, "That N-word crazy. Who is that man?" And I said, "That's Eldridge Cleaver, Minister of Information of the Black Panther Party." And my father said, "He's crazy." He said, "I know that man. I've seen him somewhere. I know I've seen him somewhere." And he had. You see, because the Panthers had given us posters. And I brought those posters home and I hung them up on my bedroom wall. Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, Eldridge Cleaver, Angela. You know, I had all of that. And he remembered. That's where he saw that man. He went into the bedroom. He tore every poster off the wall. And he didn't stop there. He took every book I had about black power, black awareness, black anything. He took all my literature, took it all to the backyard, put it in a barrel, set it on fire. He told me and my brother, "As long as you live in my house, don't you talk that black power stuff. Don't you act like black power and don't bring your black power friends to my house. Well, the next morning, early in the morning, I woke up and my brother was packing a bag. And I said, "Where you going?" He said, "I can't live here anymore." I said, "But where are you going?" He said, "I'm going back to New Jersey. I'm going to join the Black Panthers." So why don't you come with me? But I couldn't go because I had a girlfriend. I played football. No, it wasn't her. I played football, you know. I couldn't leave all of that stuff. So I finished high school. And I was accepted into Fayetteville State University. And in 1969, as a freshman, my mother was driving me, my sister was with us, to Fayetteville State University, freshman orientation. I felt good about going to school. I was leaving home. I wasn't under my father's roof anymore. I felt like I would have a little freedom. But on the way to Fayetteville, as we came into town, there was a billboard on the outskirts of town, high up in the air, large billboard. On that billboard was a Klansman riding a white horse, and the caption said, "Welcome to Klan country." And I said, "Oh my God." I didn't know what I was getting into. When I got on the campus, I still had a hunger and a thirst. I wanted somebody to tell me about the struggle. I was willing to learn. I needed to learn. I wanted to be involved with some brothers and sisters that were down, that knew all about this power thing, this black power thing, and how I could be involved and how I could make a difference. But when I got on campus, that's not what they were about. They were about the Greek fraternities and sororities and having parties. And I wandered that campus trying to find other people with a mind like mine that wanted to talk about the struggle. But I just couldn't find them. And I was dissatisfied. But one day, two brothers came on the campus. They were Black Panthers. They were from Winston-Salem. I ended up spending the whole weekend with them. And when they got ready to go back to Winston-Salem, I said, "Just wait a minute." I went and packed my bags. I got in that car, and I went with them. Now, before we got to Winston-Salem, we were driving. We went through Charlotte because they were on assignment from the Panthers. We came through Charlotte and everything, and everywhere we went, they would stop and go into a store, steal a bottle of wine. And so, we're riding down the road, and they steal wine, and then they run out of wine, they stop and they steal some more wine, and we drank that wine, and, but that wasn't me. That just wasn't me. Well, we stopped one place, and, they went in to steal, but I went in to buy me something to eat. I wanted to eat. In that store, I saw them when they went around. I went and bought a roasted chicken in the store. I was standing in the checkout line. Because they were stealing, the police were called, and they got arrested. But I got arrested too. All right? So they arrested me in the checkout line with what I had. And they took us to jail. And there was a couple other guys with us. And handcuffed us, and we stood up against the wall. And as a police officer walked by, one of the brothers that was there said that MF pig. And the cop turned around and looked at me and said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Man, I didn't say nothing." And he gave me that hard look, and then he turned to walk away. And that other brother said again, just like the MF pig. And the cop turned around again and looked at me and said, "What did you say?" I said, "I didn't say nothing." He said, "Come with me." And so I'm handcuffed. My hands are behind me. He tells me to walk down the hall. I walk down the hall. He tells me to make a right. I make a right. Then he tells me to make another right, and I make that right. And it's a wall. I walked into a dead end. And I turned around to see what was going on, and that's when he began to beat me. It was him and another cop. They were beating me. And I couldn't protect myself, so I fell to the floor and tried to ball up as best I could. And since I fell to the floor, then they put their boots on me. And I looked up, and down the hall, I saw this black cop coming. And I said, "Yo, brother, you see what these pigs doing to me?" And that cop came up, and he joined them. And they kept on beating me. Well, when I went to court, I got bailed out from jail. And when I went to court, I was defending myself. And the judge, I just told the judge, I was not stealing. I was buying what I had. I had the money in my pocket. The judge asked, "How much money did you find on him?" And they told the amount. And he said, "Well, how much did the chicken cost?" And they told the amount. And it was the exact amount that I had. So I was found not guilty. I made it to Winston-Salem. When I walked into Winston-Salem, their headquarters, the chapter was on 14th and Jackson Street. If anybody is from Winston-Salem, when I walked in, the first person I saw was my brother. I had not seen him in almost 2 years. And he looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him and said, "What are you doing here?" And I told her, "I've come to join the Panthers." So that was cool with him. What I thought would happen, they'd put a gun in my hand, send me out in the streets, and I was gonna wreck those streets. I was gonna raise hell. I was gonna be a revolutionary. That's what I expected, but that's not what they did. They put books in my hands. They said, "You've got to learn. You got to learn about this political system. You got to learn about this racist government. You got to learn about how to have revolution and how to overthrow your oppressor." And so every night we had to study. We had to learn the Black Panther Party 10-point program. We had to study our Black Panther newspaper. Then there were all kinds of books that we had to read, and sometimes we stayed up to the middle of the night. When you got up in the mornings, we had the free breakfast program where we would feed children before they went to school. And then we would hit the streets. We sold newspapers, or we did other things to help the party or to put programs in place.
And that's all for this week's episode. We hope you learned about some more ways to make everyone feel at home in the high country.
If you'd like to learn more about the Black Student Association, you can visit their website, bsa.appstate.edu, for more information.
Thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram at AppTV, and check out our YouTube channel, AppTV, for more student-made content.
Until next time, bye neighbor.